Now let's discuss the concept of a function. So the general rule here is that a function is a rule or a correspondence relating two sets. One set is the input and one is the output, in such a way that each element in the input set corresponds to one and only one element in the output set. So for example, if let's say the input set here, let's call it X, and the output set here, let's call it Y, and you have elements in it. Let's say you have A, B, and C in X, and let's say you have D, E, and F in Y. So it says that the rule is that each element in the input set corresponds to one and only one element in the output set. So for example, A corresponds to D, and that is the only correspondence between set X, the input set, and set Y, the output set. So this is one correspondence, and let's say that B corresponds to E, right? But let's say that E corresponds to C as well. So the rule states that each element in the input set corresponds to one and only one element in the output set. So as you can see, A corresponds to D, B corresponds to E, and C corresponds to E as well. So each element in the input set corresponds to one and only one output in the output set. But let's say that you had another set, let's call it I, and let's call another output set J, and you have, let's say, elements like 1, 2, and 3 in the input set, and you have 4, 5, and 6 in the output set. But in this case, let's say that 1 corresponds to 4, fair play till now, but 2 corresponds to 5, and it corresponds to 6 as well. So that kind of negates the rule of a function that states that each element in the input set must correspond to one and only one element in the output set. But as you can see, 2 corresponds to more than one element in the output set. So this is not a function, and this is a function, right? So I hope that clears up the basic concept of a function. And so let me just rub all of this off. Now, the area, here are some examples of a function. The area A of a square. The A is the output, and it depends on one of the sides of the square, right? Because the area of a square is the length times the length of the square, right? So A is equal to x square, since one side is x. And that basically means for each each input of x is the input here, each input of x, that gives you a distinct value of A, right? So A is a function of x, right? For example, if you put 2 in place of x, that is 2 square, and that gives you 4. No other combination, no other value of x will give you 4 in the output. So it's a one-on-one correspondence. So it is a function. Similarly, for volume, you have the same concept over here, because all of this is just a constant. 4 by 3 pi is a constant, so you're left with R3. V is related to not R3, R cube. V is related to R cube, and for every single value of R that you put in, you have a distinct value for v, the output. So this is a function as well. Now let's see the formal definition of a function, and let's see what the domain of a function is and what the range of a function is. So a function f, let's say that the function or the correspondence, let's call it f, from an input set x to an output set y is a rule or a correspondence that assigns to each element x. X is an arbitrary name that we've given to every element in the set x. Each element in set x a unique element in set y, right? The set x is called the domain of the function f, and the set y is called the range of the set of the function f, right? So you remember the two sets that are true, A and B, right? So each element in A and each element in B, right? And let's say this is a function, and basically the range of A, the set A is basically called the domain of the function, and the set y is the range of the function. And they have to be a set of real numbers, by the way. So here are some examples. You have this function that basically relates the output y with the input x, right? This whole correspondence is a cubic equation. And when you put x is equal to 3, then you have to find the range. That's the question. So this is how you do it. When you plug in x is equal to 3, you get 3 cubed plus 5 into 3 minus 2, and that gives you 40, right? So x is equal to 3 is the domain, and y is equal to 40 is the range. That's as simple as that. And I don't think there's really much confusion in this topic, because you just have to remember that the value of x is the domain and the value of y is the range. So yeah.